Hello, this is Mindy from The Weekend Gardener, and today I have a gardening tip for you. I bet many of you have these wire baskets sitting around the garden shed. Now, when they're bought new, they do come with liners, and if you have a standard size, finding the liners isn't really that big of an issue. You can find the pre-made liners made out of cocoa fiber, or they're referred to as core liners, or you can make your own liner out of sphagnum moss that has been soaked in water, and you pack it into the wire basket and it creates its own liner. But what happens if you don't want to go that route, or you want a colored liner, or you have a really weird shaped wire basket? The solution to that problem is good old-fashioned burlap. Now, this is becoming such a popular technique that some feed and seeds are actually selling burlap. But if your local feed and seed isn't selling it, you can find burlap at your local fabric store or hobby store. Now, how do you do this? Learn from me. It is easier to take newspaper and create a pattern of the size that you need versus just cutting burlap and trying to do it that way. So I would suggest taking newspaper, squishing it in, coming up with the pattern, and then using that pattern to cut your burlap. But through my experience, you're going to need at least a yard, maybe a yard and a half, depending on the size of the container. Now, the next issue is, should you use a single layer of burlap or a double layer? I would suggest a single layer. Now, the reason is burlap is quite porous. So when you go to water your plants, the water is actually just going to run right through it. Having a double layer helps hold some of the water in. And what you're going to do is you're going to fold, in my situation, and I would strongly suggest use a double layer. I've cut my burlap, and I'm just going to work it into this wire container. Now, you may be wondering what helps hold the shape of the burlap in the container. The answer is the soil. Once you get all the edges covered with the burlap, then you're going to put your potting soil mixture in here. Once it is full, trim away any excess that you have and then plant as usual. Now, I do have a few tips when you're using this technique. Tip 1. Add a hydrogel to the soil that you're going to use in this hanging basket. The reason is because this soil is so porous, because this fabric is so porous, the soil dries out very quickly. Using a hydrogel will prevent you from having to water every day. You might actually get maybe having only to water every 3 days. That would be a great suggestion. The other suggestion I would have when using this technique is keep in mind that this burlap is only going to last for a season, and you're going to have to repeat this process. So if you are content with your design with burlap, don't throw your pattern away. That will save you some time next year when you go to use this burlap liner technique. So until we meet in the garden again, this has been Mindy from The Weekend Gardener.